All right, so today we're going to look at this model here, which is the Bark River Teddy 2. This is a second run, I believe, of these knives. They've made them once or twice before, and it's an A2. Has desert ironwood burl handles on it, and then it's got the bloody basin spacers. I believe it's desert ironwood burl. I'm going to look at the box right now. Nope, desert ironwood. So you can see, yeah, desert ironwood, front and rear, bloody basin spacers. Retail price is up there. This is a knife that I've wanted for a long time. It's one of those knives that, you know, looking at it really struck a chord with me. It's visually really appealing. You know, it's good size handle on it. It's like, gosh, probably 5-inch. So throw the tape measure on it. It's a 8-inch blade. From the tip of the blade to the guard, cutting edge is approximately 7.5 inches from the tip of the blade to the ricasso. The handle length, depending on how you want to measure it, but the proper way to measure it is, I believe, measuring it like that, it's basically 5 inches almost. You could consider it 5 inches if you measured it like that, or you could consider it 4 3/4 inches if you measured it like that. So it's a good size handle, which I really like. Stock thickness, I believe it is, oh shoot, I think my battery's dead on this. Darn it. Well, darn it. Well, I have another one of those kicking around here somewhere, I believe. But anyways, the stock thickness is 250 thou thick, I believe. Darn digital vernier calipers. See if I can't get this to show up because the LCD is so faint from the batteries being dead, but I can actually see it. It's 254 thou there. A little bit, yeah, 250. So it's a 1/4 inch thick. Unfortunately, I left that caliper on and the battery went dead. I've been using this a little bit, so the blade's not as sharp as it was. I've been carrying it. It's actually quite comfortable to carry. It sits nice and low. Got a really wide belt loop. I treated the sheath with Hubbard's boot grease, which is my personal favorite leather protectant. I like the way it darkens the leather and stuff. So I guess just right off the bat, this knife probably compares to my Bravo Taupe Recon most similarly out of the knives I've got as far as Bark Rivers are concerned. Similar sized blade, similar sized overall length, although the Teddy 2 is heavier. The Bravo Taupe Recon has a 7.5 inch blade. Cutting length is 7 1/4 basically, to the sharpening notch there, if you want to call it that. Overall length on the Taupe Recon is just a smidge under 13 inches. Overall length on the Teddy 2 is just basically 13 1/4. Now, well, the reason why I'm bringing this out is because I feel it's a pretty fair comparison, right? So if you're interested in a knife of this size, a lot of people are familiar with this knife. This is one of my favorite of my knives in this size range. It's unbelievably capable for its size. It's also quite light and quite compact and carries really well. It's lighter and it's definitely more compact than this. I haven't tested this one out to know how it works as far as chopping, other than just doing a couple of whacks on a 2x4 that I've got. I know it's going to perform well. It's got fairly high grind on it, so it's going to be thin behind the edge. Fortunately, like I said, I killed the batteries on that caliper, so I can't show you exactly. So this is 1 pound, 0.7 ounce, and then if I change it into grams, it's 476 grams. So it's fairly heavy. Put it in the sheath and weigh it, because that's definitely more representative of what you're going to be packing. 630 grams in the sheath, 1 pound, 6.2 ounces. So let's look at the Bravo Taupe Recon in the sheath. Remember, 1 pound, 6.2 ounces for the Teddy 2. This is 1 pound, 3.1 ounces for the sheath. That was 476 grams and basically a pound. This one's 14.1 ounces, so it's definitely a little bit lighter. This one is thinner stock, 187 thou thick. It chops really, really well. Does quite well with food prep and general camp stuff, so I'm expecting this one to perform similarly. What I can do, since I can't show you on this video with, you know what, I'm gonna pause the video. I'll come back in a second and I will find my other caliper, which should have good batteries, so I can actually show you the thickness behind the edge and compare it to the Taupe Recon, which I think is probably the best knife to compare it to that I've got. Well, I can't find my other digital caliper. Goes to show why good old analog dial calipers are worth a lot more than the digital ones that rely on batteries. Anyways, that's frustrating. I ended up buying another one because I dropped this one, broke the cover. Oh, look at that. I can see it when it's on an angle. I'm gonna zero this. I'm gonna try and do this on camera. It's gonna be hard because you're not gonna be able to see this. But what I want to show you is the thickness behind the edge. You can see between the two of these, the height of the grind. It's fairly high on the Teddy 2 versus the Taupe Recon. So I don't know, but I'm thinking that the geometry is going to be fairly similar. One thing I've noticed on this Teddy 2, which it's not really a big deal, the grind goes a little bit higher here than it does here. You can see the blade swoops up. I mean, that'll sharpen out, come out in the wash, but I know some people get awfully picky about silly stuff like that. It's not totally symmetrical, so you guys are gonna have to rely on me just to read this out. We are in the wrong unit. We're in millimeters. Oh, well, yeah, she's thin, so 20 thou behind the edge, and I'm measuring it right there. That's pretty reasonable. And then halfway up the grind, we are, if I can see that, 160 thou. Obviously, way up there, it's going to be pretty much full thickness of a 1/4 inch. So, 1/4 of the way up, we're at 100 thou basically. Halfway up, 160 thou. 3/4 of the way up, 220 thou, all the way up to 1/4 inch. So you can see that that is going to be pretty darn good at splitting wood and also having good bite when it comes to chopping. So 20 thou behind the edge for the Teddy 2, which is an A2. This Taupe Recon is in 3V, and it is basically maybe a little bit thinner, 18 thou behind the edge. Quarter of the way up the grind height, 70 thou. So we were at 100 thou with a Teddy 2. Middle of the grind height, 117, 117 thou. 3/4 of the way up, let's say 160 thou, which is what we were in the middle of the grind height on the Teddy 2. And then right at the top, 190 thou, basically. The stock thickness on this is 187, I believe, if I remember correctly. Somehow it switched into millimeters again. Oh, there we go. Yeah, the battery's not liking life. Okay. Yeah, 192, somewhere around there. So anyways, yeah, you can see that the Teddy 2 definitely has thicker edge geometry than the Taupe Recon. And I know this Taupe Recon chops like way above its weight class. Like, it's really impressive. I've been blown away with how well it performs, considering that it's not a heavy blade. It's got good weight forward. Use this little chunk of wood and try not to cut myself. I mean, you can get these Teddy 2s without the double guard, so a single guard, which would be better for doing this kind of work. Obviously, you're going to have more control. If you were using it for wood stuff, you know, woodwork and camp stuff, I would definitely lean towards going with a single guard on this, and you can get your hand over it a little bit better. Bravo Taupe Recon, a lot easier to choke up on. Definitely going to be, they're both pretty good. Getting your thumb over that is a little bit more difficult with this one. Working with the tip, this works really good. You can get good control because you get a real good grip with that handle. The tip on this one, similar. It's got a more of a belly on this knife than the Teddy 2. So I actually found the Teddy 2 just doing that, just to be a little bit more comfortable actually. Push cutting with the tip with your thumb on it. I'll try and take a look here at some other knives that are similar in style to the Teddy 2. So, you know, marble style pommels and stuff like that. I'll grab a couple of those different knives I'm thinking of. All right, so got a couple other knives here. I've got the Michigan Hunter, which is a big favorite of mine. This one here is the special hunting knife, and they're all sort of a similar design based off marbles, you know, knives, and combined with some other patterns. I think Teddy 2 is based on a Wade and Butcher Teddy knife, and then they sized it up to make it the Teddy 2. So the original one I think was 6.5 inches or something like that. This one is the special hunting knife. So if you like classic knife designs, you know, these are the kind of knives that would probably appeal to you. The Taupe Recon, which is more of a modern style knife, you know, doesn't have the same kind of appeal visually, in my opinion, that these knives have. You know, some people probably would really like the look of a knife like this more so than these ones. Me personally, I gravitate towards a knife like this, and any of these ones here more so than, you know, that one. I think, you know, this, trying to think of how to explain it. I mean, kind of one of those things. I mean, people have certain cars they like the looks of, right? You know, or they like cars from a certain era. I like knives with patterns from this kind of era more than I do the modern era. Now, performance-wise, this knife is like, it's phenomenal, right? So it probably will be more practical and versatile, you know, in a lot of respects compared to this knife. These two knives are competitive with each other as far as, you know, their usage, you know, as a camp knife, shelter building, bushcraft. I mean, they're not really a bushcraft knife per se, but, you know, just a big heavy belt knife that you can, you know, knock limbs off tree branches or hack, you know, saplings down and stuff like that. These two knives are going to be phenomenal. This knife might out chop this, but I don't know. I'm going to have to test it to find out. You know, picking them both up, handling them, feeling the heft of the blade, just how it wants to swing when you know, move your hand around. My gut instinct would be that the Teddy 2 is going to out chop this, but this thing, when I actually went out and chopped with it the first time, I couldn't believe it. Like, it really performed well. So this one still may surprise me and out chop this, but this is going to be no slouch. I've whacked into, you know, 2x4 with it, and it's pretty darn good. Like, there's no question it's going to be right up there performance wise, you know, with this knife here. I know I'm rambling. I've got to make sure I got the right sheath for the right knife here. That, I believe, is for Special Hunter, which I'm going to do a video on as well. Oh, what am I doing here? Wrong sheath. So, put this away, and we'll go back to talking about the Teddy 2. And I guess for me, the reason why I like it so much is the looks, the feel. You know, those are the things that instantly draw me towards it. The fact that it's, you know, a stout 8-inch blade that's capable of some seriously, you know, heavy work. You know, those are all things that are really appealing. I get distracted, honestly, like just trying to talk and hold this knife. I mean, looking at it, I'm just like, oh man, you know, pictures and videos really don't do it justice, just how awestruck I am with how nice a looking knife this is. So yeah, you know, it's really mesmerizing, I guess, kind of hypnotizing, just how nice this thing is. Like, it's just, oh, I love it. I really, really like it. And it's not, you know, it's not too bad to carry. I mean, I had to tighten my belt up a notch to carry it around comfortably without it pulling down my pants. But, you know, about the sheath and stuff, like, it's got a real nice wide belt loop, so it carries quite well. No problems actually, you know, jumping in my truck and sitting with it. The pants that I'm wearing right now, the one belt loop is kind of placed weird, so it puts the sheath further back, which is, for me, I don't really find it that comfortable. A lot of my other jeans, they've got the belt loop just a little bit further forward, so the sheath can ride further forward on my hip, which is just, for me, just a little bit more comfortable and more natural feeling. You know, if you had, for instance, a sheath that had a split loop in the back like this, then you can put your belt loop in through here, and then it places it perfectly. So when I carry this knife, that's exactly what I do, which I got to do a video on this too. I can't remember if I've done one yet, but I'm going to. It's the Taupe Bulldog, which I actually really, really like this knife. I'm going into a tangent here, but maybe get you interested in watching some other videos. I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to look at it compared to my Taupe Recon. our taupe Lucky 7, which is a small little knife. But yeah, anyways, I start rambling on about all these different knives, and I'm like a dog, you know, trying to chase a squirrel, or whatever the saying is. I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, so A2, which is a tool steel, carbon, non-stainless. I think it's got 5% chromium in it, so there's a little bit of extra corrosion resistance in this steel compared to, say, 1095. Still, it's extremely tough, has really good wear resistance, you know, but most importantly is it's really easy to sharpen and maintain. So you probably won't have to sharpen it unless you damage it. Just maintain it on your leather strop. I'm starting to notice it's a little bit duller than it was. I got any paper here I can, but it's still sharp. Like, I mean, not quite shaving sharp anymore, but like I said, I've been messing around with it, carrying it a bit, and just carrying, you know, a big knife like this in the sheath and sitting in a vehicle. The twisting and the rocking motion like this that you get will tend to push the knife edge into the sheath, and I find that it dulls quite quickly. Some knives are worse for it than others. This little knife gets dull really quick, just basically from that exactly. It rocks in the sheath and ends up getting itself dull. But this blade here is really, 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 really easy to sharpen. So I'm going to grab my leather strop. So a lot of guys are always worried about sharpening these things because they're convex. Well, I can tell you right now, they're super easy. This little bit of a recurve that's not really supposed to be there might throw you off a little bit. So all you do, take a strop, go like this, wait until it starts to bite, and you raise the edge. There we go. That's the angle that it wants to sharpen at. So I just you get used to it, you can hear it sort of being a little different when you're right on that apex. This is the fine side, 4000 grit CBN emulsion. You want to do this with, you know, really light touch. Normally I'll just check that. Drop off to the side there. Oh yeah, so that's noticeably sharper. It wasn't shaving before, so now it's shaving. Oh, that's how quickly A2 will come back. So like, you're not going to get that with 3V. You're not going to get that with CPM crew wear. None of those high wear resistant steels. Whereas A2, even though it's got, you know, decent amount of wear resistance, people don't give it, you know, the appreciation and love that it deserves. I love A2. It's like 52-100. You know, it really performs phenomenally well. Like, it's super well balanced, super tough. You know, it's easy to maintain. It doesn't rust overly easily. You know, some steels like L6 and whatnot are notorious. They'll just flash rust. You can sit there and look at it and almost watch it rust before your eyes. A2 doesn't. So I mean, I really can't express enough how good A2 is and how easy it is to sharpen and keep sharp, right? That's so important with a, you know, a big knife like this that you're going to be using hard, you know, especially if you damage the edge, right? This blade here and these two blades here, they're in CPM crew wear. Like, I would probably have to spend 10 times longer on the strop to bring it back to, you know, being hair popping sharp like that. And that's not even that sharp, like, compared to what it could be. Like, I could spend more money, or sorry, more time, and really get it sharp, right? Like, to the point that I could literally take a long hair and whittle it. And A2, you know, it likes to get that sharp without fighting you, like some of the other steels do. CPM crew wear is another steel that takes a lot longer to do that, but it's good in that respect. It does like to get sharp, a little easier to get sharp, I find, even though it takes a bit more time than 3V. Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see more knives offered in A2 that, you know, maybe are a little more affordable for people, right? Because the price difference between A2 and 3V or crew wear has got to be, you know, almost 40% more for some of those, you know, CPM steels versus, you know, A2, right? So you think about a knife that's 250 bucks in A2, it's going to be 330 bucks in 3V or crew wear. And, you know, when you get into these larger blades, you know, you're just wasting your money buying a blade out of 3V versus A2. The only real difference, maybe for some people, would be the extra corrosion resistance to 3V. It doesn't tend to rust. It tends to pit. Doesn't really stain that much. A2, to keep it looking like this, you got to polish it. Use like Flitz or Autosol. This is my 3V blade. It's hard to see, but there's a bit of a patina on it. It doesn't even really patina that much either, compared to other steels. I actually haven't even put oil on it in the sheath since I last used it. I just cleaned it up. I would have oiled it and wiped it down, but I usually pull them out and give them a wipe. Like my A2 blades and stuff, I will pull them out and oil them regularly. The 3V blades, I'll just give them a wipe and, you know, wipe them almost dry and then put them away, and that seems to be sufficient. Yeah. So just trying to think of what else I can talk about. Oh, I know what I was gonna do. I was gonna show you some other big blades, just to give you an idea in size. So you can see that is the Rio Grande Bowie. That's a big blade. Gives you an idea that this Teddy 2 is not a small knife. My Shining Mountain Bowie, which is a massive blade. Let's see if that's showing up in the camera. Maybe I should show it like this. Let me get a little bit. That's some steel there, some serious steel. That blade there, I keep looking online and I'm surprised at how many of these are available. Like, I think a lot of people look at it and go, oh, that's kind of funny looking. But it's a wicked knife. Like, it's a heavy duty knife. Like, it's thick. Like, it's thicker than these ones, I think. And they're all in A2. And you can see, like, even though they've been used, like, there's no real staining. I just clean them up and give them a bit of a polish sometimes, and that's all there is to it. I mean, the brass hardware on that is a little more corroded, or not corroded, but patinaed, sorry. But yeah, no, I mean, size-wise, this is still a large knife, right? And a very capable one at that. Out of these three, you know, you're gonna, you know, definitely be able to carry that on the belt. Maybe some people might not want to. These ones are too too big and too heavy to comfortably do that for sure. I wouldn't personally. I would find it quite uncomfortable to lug these things around, so I just put them in my backpack or whatever, and away I go. But that's a really nice knife. If you like the looks of it, I would not hesitate to recommend it. That's the Shiny Mountain Bowie. It's a big ass knife. Pirate knife. So, trying to think here if there's anything else knife-wise that I can show you that would be good to look at in comparison to this Teddy 2. But I can't really think of too much right now. What else we got? So I really don't have a whole lot of knives that are similar in size to that really would be a good knife to compare it to. This is kind of a, you know, fills its own sort of spot in the lineup for me. It's a Bowie, right? So it's a, you know, I guess you call it a fighting knife first and foremost. That's what they're all, their DNA goes back to. But I mean, like anything, it's a knife, and knives can be used for all sorts of different things, but really actually probably would be a lot better camp and just heavy chore knife than one would give it credit. I would definitely probably suggest, you know, if you were looking at one of these knives to, you know, do some chopping and that kind of stuff, get the single Quillian guard instead of having the double guard on it. It'll allow you to, you know, at least choke up and get your hand up over top of the spine there a little bit better. But yeah, it's a big handle on it. Yeah, I'm definitely really glad I got one of these finally. So I think there's a few of them left actually. I think Knives Ship Free has a couple. DLT Trading's all sold out. I don't know if anybody else got any of those on this particular run. Sometimes a few other retailers like Bushcraft Canada would get some. I have no idea whether they actually, you know, put in for any of these, but if they did, then that would be one place you could get one in Canada. Other than that, I believe the only two retailers that had these in stock and received any of them was DLT Trading and Knives Ship Free. But yeah, let me know what you think of this thing in the comments, and you know, give me some ideas as far as what you'd want to see me do with this knife, and maybe do some testing with it. Anyways, thanks for watching.